Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Two Labs Garage. We have right here my 1995 Evinrude outboard motor, and every other year I follow a pretty rigorous maintenance schedule. And because of that, I have not had any breakdowns from this motor since 1995 when I got this thing. And not only that, but the carburetor has never been rebuilt. It's got all the original gaskets in there. So I'm going to show you how I maintain these motors and how I, for math, 27 years, can keep the same motor going with no problem. Hey y'all, my name's Aaron and I'm a car addict. And these are my assistants, Caroline and Nellie. Together, we are Two Labs Garage. We're a car YouTube channel. We love old cars. We love old trucks. We go to events, shows, drives. We do repairs, maintenance, budget bills. Let you in on some of my tips and tricks I've learned over the years. And when we get the chance, we revive them. So come join us here at Two Labs Garage, where we're going to have fun putting old relics like this back on the road on a budget, and most importantly all, we're just going to have fun with old cars. Alright, so I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Towards the end of last season, I did have to put this particular motor up early because we did actually encounter a problem, and that problem, thing was running great, but somehow never the gear shift came unhooked, so it got stuck in drive. So luckily I was able to figure out on the water how to override the neutral safety switch, start it in drive, but I didn't have neutral, didn't have reverse, so that's a little frustrating. But in addition to this year's regular maintenance, we're going to take care of that. So go ahead and remove the hood. See if I can see anything amiss here. Alright, so up here we got linkages and all, and from everything I can tell, everything up here is working. So where the magic actually happens is down here in the lower unit. So I think that's a pretty good place for me to start. So I'm going to go ahead, drop the lower unit, see what I can figure out about what's going on down here. And also, every odd year I replace the water pumps on these. Alright, so go ahead and start breaking these loose. This motor has 6 of them. Now, not too long ago, I did the same maintenance procedure on my Yamaha outboard, which is a newer engine, but has also been extremely reliable. But I also did the Yamaha first because I felt like that was low-hanging fruit. And from the looks of things, I'm probably right. Alright, so we got the bolts out, so let's start to drop this. Well, okay, I see what was wrong with the shifter. I see for what, now I need to understand the what. Alright, so I kind of understand what's happened here. Because normally to get the lower unit to drop, you gotta go through some gymnastics here. And right here's the shift thing, and there's a bolt that runs through, and there's a groove in the rod that comes down from the motor. And the bolt sits in there, locks that in, and that's how you shift. Well, my top bolt is missing altogether. I do not know where it is, and it appears that it may have even stripped that thing or backed out. So let's see if it's, that's what I understand. That thing had to have gone somewhere. But anyway, need to figure out what's going on with that and what I'm going to do about a replacement. Need to change the water pump because I do the water pump every year. I did get a full rebuild kit for it this time, so look at it, I may be using it. As you can tell, this thing does get some pretty good saltwater time. I am pretty religious about flushing this thing. But even so, as you can see, we still got some issues. The other thing I noticed, and I've never had a problem with this before, but it appears the gear lube may be leaking out, so I may have a seal in here that's gone bad. So I was definitely right to do the Yamaha first, especially when you consider this is Friday. If I want to use a boat this weekend, from what I'm seeing, there's a pretty good chance I'm going to have to get some parts of this. Unfortunately, it looks very probable that I'm not going to have this one ready time enough to go out on the water tomorrow, so at least I got my Yamaha. This one is faster, but hey, like I said, the thing's 26 years old, can't really complain. As of right now, it still has original carburetor gaskets. Carburetor's never been rebuilt. I wouldn't be too surprised if all good things come to an end and I end up having to rebuild it this time, but we'll see. But first of all, looks like the lower unit has some issues. And actually, I look down here, I actually can see the bolt all the way down here in the bottom, so I'm going to need to harvest that out somehow. Anyway, let's get to the water pump. We know we can do that. Alright, let's get these bolts off of here. Alright, see what we got. Pin came out on this one. Don't want to lose that. The bottom wear plate looks like it's in good shape. Alright, now in here, our impeller. Come on out. I say come out. There we go. Ooh, this one's starting to show some cracking. If you look in there. This one was definitely worse than the one that was in the Yamaha. So we got, you can see where the fins are permanently laid over, and we got cracking. Alright, so dug my kit out. And again, compare the impellers. We would definitely do a change here. And also inspecting the rest of the pump. This would probably honestly be okay, but I think I'm gonna do the full rebuild this time. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, that's the original. It's 28 years old. I don't feel like it owes me anything. Now, just to clarify, I have changed the impeller multiple times, every year since '95. Alright, so wear plate adapter, or this bottom plate, whatever you want to call it. Let's put it in correctly. We'll go ahead and put the new one there. Looking good so far. Now I'll just use the old pump here as the template for putting the new together. We'll put the new wear plate adapter thingy in here. This one does come with O-rings. That's good. And if you're wondering why I'm saying that, I just did my Yamaha. Yeah. That one was missing the O-ring, and they were not easy to come by. Alright, so let's see. Lay my stuff out here. From the looks of things, I might have more of a universal kit. They'll do several different styles and have stuff left over, which is cool. I understand why they do that. Alright, let's see. Need something to poke with. Just wiggle that in. Now that's in. Alright. Cool. What else is on here that's... Just trying to look. Looks like we got a cap that goes up here. Okay. Maybe that. Alright, that's what that does. How does that go? Tapered like that. Push that in using a socket, and then we got There's a big O-ring up here. That'd be that. Anything else? Transfer over. Alright. A wear plate in here. I'm just going to set that in the box so I don't lose anything. Unlike the Yamaha, this impeller is bi-directional. Doesn't really have a top and a bottom. I'll make some things easier. So slide that down here. Alright, so let's get this pin in here. Just gently slide that over. Now the pump, as I assembled it. Alright, so I got a way I like to set these impellers. And I was able to do this on the Yamaha video because, well, it was in drive. This one, right now I'm having trouble getting it out of neutral. So what I did was I looked at the engine, just pulled the rope, I'll pull to see which direction the engine rotates. And as you're looking down, it rotates clockwise. So what I like to do is just twist the shaft, which will make the fins bend in the right direction. And once you've got them bent in the right direction, you can go ahead and tighten your bolts down. I believe, yes, it does come with new bolts, so I'm going to use them. So the water pump's been changed. Now, we got to figure out, one, why the screw came out. Do I need to get parts? Retrieve the screw. I want to address this leak, because right now it doesn't look like a real big deal. But once you get a leak started, unless you repair the problem, it ain't going to stop. This is also one of the things that if I have to order a kit, and I want to take this boat out first, yeah, I could take it out a few times and then come back and do that, but I'd really rather not. Somehow or another, I got to get something in there to get that bolt out. Alright, so I got the bolt out, and I used a screwdriver, I used a magnet, I had a piece of all thread I stuck down there. What got it out? Piece of wire. So anyway, I've retrieved the bolt, and honestly it looks like at some point this one was replaced. I don't recall replacing it. Wouldn't surprise me. I say that because the one down here, never been taken out of the motor, still has a slot head on it. This one looks like something came from the hardware store. Upon close examination, the threads right here, worn off. So this is why I ejected, so I'm going to have to get a replacement bolt. I need to make sure it's stainless. I'd love to find another one that's got the slide head on it, because I think it'd make it a whole lot easier to hook everything back up, but heck, I do what I gotta do. Phone's ringing. Alright, so I was able to find some stainless steel bolts over at Lowe's to go back in here. They are 1/4 by 28. They're fine threads, and they're 3/4 of an inch, and they're stainless steel. Gotta use stainless steel, especially on this motor, because this does see quite a bit of salt water, which is really a big part of the reason why it looks rougher than the Yamaha. But you gotta remember, this thing's 28 years old. I don't think it looks bad for her age. But anyway, I got the motor kicked up, and I've got it clamped to the boat. Remember, clamp it to wherever you're working on. Make sure wherever you're working on is sturdy. I did have a little bit of a mishap with the Yamaha, so we're not all the way tight. That gives me some room for flow. But anyway, let's put the lower unit on this one. There we go. Now, whoever came up with this design needs to be taken out and shot. Yamaha really did have a better idea. But let's see. Alright, get it lined up. And I'll just kind of wiggle, 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 wiggle. And On this one, make sure it's in forward. I'll send the rod as far down as you can, and then you just gotta make everything else go up. And not as far up as we need to be. Did I mention I really don't like this design? Because now I ain't got enough room to get the bolt in. Sugarfoots. Let me make sure this is all the way out. And yes, in nearly 30 years of owning this motor, I have never found a better way. I've gotten a little better at it, but I ain't never found a better way to do this. Alright. We got a problem. Why is that? That'll never work. Alright, I just discovered a problem. And believe me, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't have to. So when I see if it was so horrible it would make me pull the thing back out after I just gone through all that, I'll show you. Alright, this is the new pump housing. I sure hope this is showing up on camera. But there's almost an 1/8 of an inch gap right there. It's hitting on the sides. An 1/8 of an inch gap. And then on this side, it's not too awful bad, but on the ends, we got a gap. Now, the factory one sits flat, sits flat, sits flat, sits flat. So what should I do with this one? Well, I've already removed the rubber seals because I may be able to use them. But this thing, seems logical. And my old yellow lab is bringing it back. So I put the old pump back in with the new gaskets and the new impeller. And needless to say, I'm pretty disappointed with how that whole thing went. But let me tell you, if I'd gotten out of the way of the test barrel and the water pump wasn't working, or if I'd gotten out in the middle of the water and that thing had failed me, oh, I'd be mad as a wet hen. So better to catch it now. Also, I'm glad those stainless steel bolts I got came in a 2-pack, because just from that one, yeah, this one's stripped. So I already knew stainless was a pretty soft metal, but I'm gonna have to look into it and come up with something else for the next time I do this, because it appears that the stainless bolts are only good for one use. Which I'm okay with that, but I need to do some research to see if I can come up with something better. I'd love to come up with an OEM thing that's got the flathead, because I think that would just make my life easier, but oh well, I got this working. It'll be good for another 2 years. So in 2025, when I've forgotten all about it, I'll be going through this whole thing all over again. Also, in the meantime, I want to try to see if I can't find a better water pump rebuild kit than that piece of crap. I mean, it'll get me through this time, but I try to stick with OEM stuff. Thing is, OMC went out of business. Which is funny, because the whole reason I got an Evinrude was because before I had some no-name motor that had been given to me, and I couldn't find anybody anywhere to work on it. And so I'll get me an Evinrude or Johnson or Mercury, because Evinrude Johnson, they ain't never go out of business. They'll always be around. We'll never have a problem finding parts or finding something to work on it. OMC went out of business, and here I am with the exact problem I was trying to avoid. Been a great motor. If I had a do-over, I probably got the Mercury just because Mercury's still around. Alright, so we know we have a slight leak in the gear lube coming from the sealant here. Now, I have every intention of fixing it and doing all that. However, with a slight leak like it's got now, it's not that big a deal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to order a part and do that at a later date, later video. But for the time being, I'm going to make sure that my fluid is full. And she'd buy it, she does need to be changed. But nonetheless, go ahead, top that off. Then I've got a couple brace fittings on here I want to hit. And then I'll probably be ready to barrel test. I always like to use good quality stuff on these things. So I'm using the Amsoil Marine gear lube. You can use Lucas or pretty much any OEM. All that's good stuff, especially especially OEMs, because they got warranties to back up. And you'll never find anybody say anything bad about Amsoil. Alright, so we got the Amsoil gear lube in it. Now just put this plug back in. Alright, so we just use a good marine grease. I don't remember what brand this is. I've had this tube a little while. And there's two up here. One here, one there. Alright, engine greased. I almost forgot, spark plugs. And these definitely look like they need changing. Let's go ahead and get on that. Well, the champions. The little one's not easy to get to. I'm in all that tight. Oh yeah, worn out. Alright, so before I fire it up and just make a whole lot of racket that you can't hear me, go ahead and talk about the fuel I use. I always use non-ethanol fuel. It is worth the extra money. I think that's part of the reason why I've never had a carburetor issue. Also, the oil I put in, these are the two that I normally use. Evinrude Johnson OEM and Quicksilver Mercury. Now I've been known to use Amsoil, Lucas, and even steel. In fact, in the pocket of a truck, I keep some of the little steel things, so if I'm out and I forgot to put oil in before I left the house, I got a few things back there and I can do, they're already measured out per gallon, so I find them handy. But nonetheless, I always use an OEM when I can help it. That might be silly, but again, I've never had an issue. This thing's 28 years old. So, anyway, that's that. Also, when I am done with it, if I run it in salt water, I put the mitts on the side of the engine, run it for about 5 minutes. It's flowing fresh water through it. And it's done a pretty good job. But periodically, I do prefer a barrel run, which is going to be this one. And there's a couple reasons for that. And the biggest one is I can put some cleaners through the engine. Sometimes I'll dump like 5 gallons of white vinegar in the barrel, because you know that's how people clean coffee pots. They only use 5 gallons, but you get the idea. So I run that through there. That'll dissolve some of the sediment and scale. And also, I'll put half of this bottle in there, and then when I come back and do the Yamaha, I'll put the other half in there. But this is just cheap dishwashing liquid, came from dollar store. Where I learned this is, I used to be in the volunteer fire department, and anytime that we had to use the fire engine to draft out of a water source, especially around here where most of it's brackish, that's how the pumps got clean. You basically dump this in the tank, run the pump backwards, let it go out on the pad, and you'd have foam this deep, and oh man, we had so much fun in that stuff. But nonetheless, if that's how they clean the fire trucks, I figure that'll be good for my boat motor. Certainly ain't gonna hurt anything. Another thing I'll mention is anytime I go to store it, and this is especially important if you're using ethanol fuels. With me using non-ethanol, it's still important, but not as important. But I take where the line attaches right here and disconnect it and let it run itself out. Now some people say you shouldn't do that because you're really not running lube through an engine. And I get that. That's a good argument, but it also gets all that crud, all that stuff that varnishes and all out of the carburetor, and keeps it reliable that way. Also, I've taken apart two-stroke engines before, not specifically this one, but other ones, and they are so slippery inside. They get lubed very well. I also go by manufacturer's recommendation. I run 100, that's the Yamaha, run 50 to 1 in here. Never skimp. If anything, I go on the heavy side. It's not go hurt it, make a little smoke, but always be safe rather than sorry when it comes to lubricants. So anyway, let me go turn the hose back on, because this thing's going to bounce water out of the barrel, and let's fire it up. Neutral, choke, and I don't have much fuel. I don't know what happened on my fuel. I could have swore I had a full thing, but see, I don't. Use the propeller for an agitator. Slight differential in the water temperature and the T-string, what you got in your barrel. Also, I'm going to look in here, look for any kind of leaks. That is the bone. Everything looks good. Okay, a few minutes now. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the fuel. Right before it dies, I'll pull the choke out just to get every last little bit of fuel out of it. Alright, now she's ready to put away until I'm ready to go on the water again. And there's a certain place where the wife has just been itching to go, a place she really enjoys, and I need specifically this motor because it's faster than the Yamaha and it's a long haul. So anyway, we're good to go here, and now I'm going to pull this out, and I'm going to do the same thing with my Yami. Alright, I'll take you all around real quick, show you a couple things. Always check, make sure my lights work. These are brand new, so they've already been tested. The wheels, I look for anything that looks like the wheels may be compromised. The tires, make sure they're not cracked, make sure they got a good amount of air in them. The rope on the winch, make sure it's in good shape. I replaced this right before I put it up last fall, so we got good rope. Your safety chains, your pin, and tongue jack, those wear out fairly quick. And as you can see, at one point I broke a bearing on that and almost lost a wheel, but I didn't. So every 5 years I change the bearings. So 2025 that'll be due. Inspect your strap, which in this case I have run over. And then up under here, I check the condition of my springs, my axle, and my U-bolts. Do the same thing on both sides, and look for any signs that one of the wheel seals may be failing, which is normally gap or grease slung, similar to that, but that's old. Also the wheels. As you can see, we got some rust, paint flaking off and all. Now, especially, like I said, a lot of brackish to salt water in this area. I really prefer galvanized rims, and I prefer the wagon wheel style to the bullet holes. So I've got a dog standing right in front of the camera. Girls, go look. I'll work for a minute. So anyway, as you can see, I got the complete opposite of what I would go out and buy. But when a friend of mine says, hey, I got some trailer wheels and tires that'll fit your boat trailer, and I don't have any use for them, come get them for free. I say, thank you very much, sir, and I come and put them on the boat. And now that they're flaking a little bit, I'm going to take my wire brush, not the least paint off. So what I'm going to do is spruce it up some, make it look a little better, is I'm going to use this Rust-Oleum rust reformer and paint it on there. And whenever I paint a set of these rims on a trailer, I always use black, because you don't have to mask off the tire. And I tend to ignore it, so any imperfections, and nobody'll notice. So I should have shaken it a little bit at first. Rebuilt, and now also got these buddy bearings. I put some alright, got that greased up. There's a hole when it starts coming out of. Also, I'll show you my boat real quick. The boat, a bit of an antique itself, 71 years old. This is a 1952 LONESTAR, and I used to have it decked over here, from here all the way back to here, and that there, all the way to the back was decked, so I could use it like a bass boat. Used to have a trolling motor up here. I don't really do that much bass fishing anymore. I decided the boat was better used nowadays as a john boat, and I can still bass fish out of it. If you wanted the pool noodles in here, my wife picked out the colors, but my little yellow lab over there, she liked to jump out, but a couple times she got her legs in between the bar here inside the boat and got hung, and well, we didn't want to really get hurt, so I put the pool noodles there to kind of keep that from happening. Also, if you're riding, you got your leg rust on that pool noodle, it's quite a bit more comfortable. I got some stair treads screwed down just to make it more comfortable for us, and also dogs like to run around, that way they're not just sliding on those metal seats. Replaced that transom a couple times. But yeah, she's, like I said, the boat's over 70 years old and still hanging in there. I love it, and I'm not really looking to get a new one because it's got the V-bout, rides smooth. But the way it is back here, it's still somewhat steady. Won't beat you to death like a flat bottom.